Hey gamers, for Christmas back in 1988, my grandmother bought me a game called Fireball Island, and I absolutely loved it. So 30 years later, if you'd have told me that I'd be playing the brand new game, Fireball Island, I'd have been like, shut up, get out of here. That's right, gamers. Today, we're going to review my old school Grail game, the new edition of Fireball Island. But wait, that's not all, because we're also going to review its expansion, The Wreck of the Crimson Cutlass. Oh wait, hold on, that's not all. I'm also going to explore the other two expansions, The Last Adventure and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Bees. Oh wait, no, I'm also going to review the treasure trove as well. Let's check it out. Now here's the 3D board. You're going to have to set things up on it, like you're going to have to put the trees on there, the Volcar, which is really awesome with the three little pathways out of his mouth where fireballs can now travel. You'll have the Jewel of Volcar. You'll put it right next to him. You'll have the little fireballs depicted by these marbles. They'll be in these little crater spots on the board. You have three types of treasures, yellow, red, and blue, and you'll just kind of put the tokens out in the marked areas on the board. You're also going to place your two bridges here and here and a ladder over there as well. You're going to have your Cataclysm track here with three other fireballs on that track. You're going to have your little tray here. In the tray, you're going to start off by putting in the Lucky Penny, and I'll talk more about that later. You have your helicopter, which is where all of your players are going to start. They're going to start on the helicopter and then move one space onto the helipad and then start their adventure. The game also comes with a little divider. I didn't see this when I saw the demo this summer, but I guess they thought that was too ugly. I don't really mind it, to be honest, but it is kind of cool they put dividers for both sides that basically fill up both ends so you don't have to see that little hole. Each player will take one of their four little player colors here. They're going to take two action cards. Action cards let you, of course, perform actions in the game. And they're going to take one souvenir card. Now, these souvenir cards are just cheats you can have in the game. Basically, they kind of cheat the rules to either help you or hurt your opponent. Now each player is going to have this little player aid to help them out and tell them what they're going to do. So first off, if they're knocked over or out, they need to put their character back on one of the spaces here. Of course, as marbles and everything else in this game with the expansions, it will be flying around the board. Your guy could appear knocked down, so you would just pick him back up. Now where it would be is really depending on where he falls. If he falls on two squares, you just pick the square where you think he should be. If he falls off the board, like maybe in the river, well, he just flows down the river onto this square. And let's say he's over here in the middle of a tree and a bunch of green. Well, he can just pick one of the closest spaces next to him near his vicinity. So here, 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 or there, wherever he wants to stand up. Anyway, you'd stand your character up and then you would move. So then the second thing we do is play an action card, and then you draw your hand up to two action cards. You're always going to draw back up to two. So let me show how this goes. He would take this, he'd start with two action cards, and as you see, they let you move different spaces depending on which card you play, and then you can, and of course remember, you're a little player that says you may. You don't have to do the action, but you have to move the full amount. So if I did this, I would move 6 spaces, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I would get a souvenir card from the deck. Souvenir cards you're going to get whenever you get hit and knocked down by a fireball. If someone ever does get hit by a fireball, they would have to discard one of their treasures, if they had one, into this little tray here, and then they would get to grab a souvenir card. So that's how you get souvenir cards in the game. Now, movement around is very simple. You cannot go back and forth. Like I can't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can't double back. All right, I have to keep moving. And any space with another player does not count as a space for you. So meaning you would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you skip over that space where they were. There's not going to be an instance where you're stopping movement, really, unless you're on one of these bridges or the ladder. If you, like, let's say I played a 6, I'd go 1, 2, but then I would have to stop there. You have to stop on these little spaces here, the trouble spots, the ladder, and the 2 bridges. So that's the only time you would really stop movement. Even when you go into a cave, you can continue your movement. What you would do is you just roll this cave cube here, and it has 1, 2, or 3, and there are 2 of the same number cave. There's 6 caves on the island, so 2 1s, 2 2s, and 2 3s. So even though I went into cave number 2, and if I rolled a 2, I wouldn't just stay there. I would just go to wherever the next cave number 2 is, and then keep moving. 1, 2, 3. I continue my movement out of that space. So that's kind of how you would move around the board there. Now they say the only other time you would stop, let's say I rolled a 3 and there was people on the 3 entrances of the caves too. In that rare instance, that's when I would stop my movement. Other than that, you're going to keep moving around the board. Now, when you move around the board, though, you're going to see these little treasure tokens, and you may pick them up as you pass them by. So if I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, I'd pick up this treasure and this treasure, and I'd hold them in my hand. Those would be in my little, I guess, knapsack as I was traveling around the island. Now, there are spots on the board where there are 2 treasures or 3 treasures. However, if you pass those squares, you may only grab 1 of those treasures unless you have a card that says differently. I talked about launching fireballs. How you would do that, of course, you would not flick, you would just tip it over and move it down. As you see, there are trees in the way here. There are some items like, let's see, here's one. This is a Cataclysm, but you see this little icon here? What that does, it lets you turn something. So you see when I threw that fireball, that tree stopped it. Well, maybe I want to turn that tree branch over this way so I can clear that path. Or maybe I'm on this path and I want to twist this tree branch around to stop any fireballs. So that's what that hand does. You can turn any of the trees there. You may also instead turn Volcar around if you want to. Shift him over 1 before you drop fireballs in the top of his head. Now, speaking of a Cataclysm card, when you play a Cataclysm card, a few things happen. First off, you're going to take all the fireballs that are in this fireball track. It starts with 1, and then you're going to drop them in his head. Now, it could come out anyway, and of course it came out to the side there, moved all around. Anyone who gets hit by a fireball, of course, gives up 1 treasure in here, and then they take a souvenir card. After that, you put that fireball back there, take this Cataclysm card, put it on the Cataclysm track like that, grab a fireball, and then throw it in the trench too. So the next time someone triggers a Cataclysm, there's going to be 2 fireballs, and then 3, and then 4, of course, as it keeps moving up. And you're going to be placing Cataclysm cards the entire time on here. Now, once this track is full, you'll take these cards and then reshuffle the entire deck of action cards as well. Now, of course, as your 4th and final action, it says, hey, reset the marbles, reset all the unstable spaces, meaning bridges and ladders. And then that would be the end of your turn. Now, I will say there are several ways to get points in the game, and one of the ways is to take pictures on the island. There are different spots on the island, and they're notated by just different little color codes. There's 2 blue, 2 red, and 2 yellow spots where you can take pictures, and the game comes with some picture cards that you can take that are worth 5 points each depending on where you go. So you'll have these kind of out on the side of the board, and whenever someone takes a picture in that area, you'll give them the card, and of course they're worth 5 points at the end of the game. Now, speaking of pictures, if someone takes a picture of all 3 destinations, you can only take pictures in one of those 3 spots once. So for instance, if I hit blue here, I could not go over here to this space and get another blue picture. I've already taken 1 blue picture. I have to take the other 2 colors. But once someone takes all 3 pictures, or once this fireball track fills up, that's when the helicopter arrives back. And that means anytime you want to, a player can get back to the helipad and jump onto the helicopter. Now, there are bonuses to getting on the helicopter first. For instance, the first person gets to go through here and pick out one of the treasures in this tray. Now, they may want to get this lucky penny. It's worth 6 points at the end of the game. Or they may want to get another type of treasure. Once the first player lands into the helipad, though, the helicopter, The game finishes that round and then goes another round to see if anyone else can get to the helicopter in time to get some treasure. Now, there's no negative points for not getting to the helicopter, but you can get extra bonus treasures that are in this tray that you may want. So anyway, after that second round of play, then the game ends and then you tally up points. Now, in those rounds, the player in the helicopter, when it comes to their turn, they can play an action card. They can't move, but they can perform the action. So if it was this one, hey, launch an ember marble. I couldn't move 8 because I'm in the helicopter, but I could launch a marble. Now, you can also play any souvenir cards that you have as well against other players if you want to. By the way, once people are in the helicopter, you cannot steal from them. You can't hit them with fireballs. They're basically safe when they're in the helicopter. But after that, then you'd flip over your little your player aid here, and then you're going to go ahead and add up all your points. Whoever has the Heart of Volcor gets 7 points. And just like in the original game, if you grab the heart, the jewel here, anyone who passes you will automatically steal the jewel. So you need to be careful that no one passes you up because they'll steal the jewel from you. The lucky penny, as it says, worth 6 points. Snapshots are worth the value on the card. And then you have treasures here. And basically this is set collection. For however many you have, you'll get that many points. So if I got 5 blue, that would be 15 points. If I got 3 red, that would be worth 6 points. If I got 2 yellow, that'd be worth 3 points. But if I made it back to the helipad and there's maybe a yellow treasure in here, I may want to pick it up because instead of getting 3 points, I could get 6 points at the end of the game. So that's one of the bonus reasons you may want to make it back to the helicopter. The second expansion is called the Wreck of the Crimson Cutlass. Now, how you can get onto this separate island from the main board is through the caves here. They have 1, 2, and 3 caves, so it's easy to get over there if you want to. There's another photo op opportunity that gives you 10 points if you take a picture from it. Now, it is a little dangerous spot, so when you land on it, you have to stop there. And of course, this player here, if someone launches a fireball, they could, well, that just went way off the board there, but they could launch it and basically move it over and hit, well, I missed it there again, wow. But they could usually hit that thing and knock your guy straight over. Now, there are other things that you can get in this game. I'm picking them up all over the place here. Fireballs flying everywhere. But there are these little jewels. Now, these are called Cursed Sapphires. They are worth 2 victory points at the end of the game, or you can cash one of them in and get a second action. That's right, you get to go back-to-back turns. And you can collect these by passing through the little tribal markers there, and you can collect as many as you want. Of course, you can't double back on one turn. There are dangers, of course. These little cannons can be twisted, and they can stop any fireballs coming across on from this guy's mouth, or they can also stop cannonballs. The game starts with 1 cannonball here, and as there are more fireballs added to the track, you will add another cannonball to the deck there. And of course, there are action cards in the game that let you tip that over and try to, of course, hit them over or knock over someone. You can actually twist this thing to stop if you want to pour them over there. And you can take those cannonballs and try to wipe out people who are visiting the Crimson Cutlass, like that. And of course, the cannons twisted around can do different things and save you from being hit by any cannonballs. But that is the second expansion there. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the big board here and show you the third expansion. This is the Last Adventure expansion, and what you're going to get first off is, of course, extra action cards, extra souvenir cards. You're also going to get some of these cards. These are basically t-shirt cards, and what they do is give you a special ability throughout the game, whatever that is. And so each player will shuffle the deck, hand each a card, and that will be their special cheat power throughout the game. So for instance, this one says, hey, resourceful, I get a souvenir card and draw 2 and choose 1. So instead of just drawing 1, I would get to draw 2 and choose the one I want to keep. Next up, the game comes with a 5th player, the original guy from the original. This is maybe the sequel here, and this is the original adventurer here from the last game. So it's a red player, and you can play with 5 players now. You're also going to get a little snake idol here. The snake idol is worth 7 points, and if you get hit by a fireball or hit with anything, you must give up this treasure first. but it's going to go right here, replace one of the treasures. Whatever treasure that is will start in this tray when you're playing with this expansion. You're also going to put out some of these little green marbles that are a little bit smaller than the regular fireballs, and there are spots on the board, oddly enough. If you see the little, you may not be able to tell here, but it has the green little insignia here, the little swirly. Those things are actually on this board game. I didn't even see this until I played with this expansion, but they are printed on here. And what you're going to do is you're going to put these out into those spaces like I have here. One of my problems with the game though is there is a marble right here. You keep seeing it fall over. The little divot they made for it isn't very good. So that thing always falls over, so usually we don't even put it there because it's always falling over. And of course they gave you a few extra. Now, what snake tokens do? There are cards that let you launch snakes, and if you get bitten by a snake, you'll get a snake token, which means on your next turn, you don't get to choose between two of your action cards. You have to pick the top action card and play with it, whatever it is. And then of course you'll discard the snake token. But of course that's how you can get bit by snakes. Now, also in this game is really awesome. There is a boulder. Now there are action cards that you roll the boulder, and boulders will start in cave entrances. So you start in a cave entrance and then just flick it down the path and hopefully knock over someone. Now when you do that, whoever you knock over has to give you 2 treasures of their choice. So that's really cool as well. And that is the last adventure expansion. The 4th expansion I'm going to show you is the Crouching Tiger Hidden Bees expansion. What you're going to do is you're going to take these little honey pots here that they give you, and you're going to place them on these areas on the board, and the game will tell you exactly where they go. Those 3 treasures you're replacing, of course, will go into this little tray for someone to grab later on at the end of the game. The game comes, of course, with extra action cards, comes with more souvenir cards. It also comes with hidden agendas. So there may be things you need to get. Maybe have the most gold treasures of any player to get an additional 10 bonus points. So basically you'd shuffle these and hand one out to each player at the beginning of the game. Now there are cards in the deck that let you take this jar full of beads. This is really cool. Bees here. And what you're going to do if you have action cards that say pour the bees in, you're going to pour the bees in through the top of Volkar's head, and they're going to go all around the board. Look out. Chaos will ensue. Now, any player who gets stung, meaning they get hit with one of those yellow marbles, they're going to get one of these bee sting tokens. And what this does, it rounds your movement down in half. So basically, if I was to play this next card, which was move 6, no, I would only move 3. And then of course you would discard the bee sting token. Now, if you grab a honey pot, it's worth 6 points at the end of the game, but you automatically also receive another bee sting token just for grabbing that honey pot. The other cool thing in the game is this tiger. There are tiger cards you can play where the tiger can pounce, and this is the same design as, if you know the old children's game Ants in the Pants, where you had to flip their back and flip them up into the pair of overalls. Well, this is basically what you're going to have to do. So on your turn, you'll put the tiger anywhere you want and try to flip him on that board. And if you can hit another player amazingly with that, they're going to have to give you 3 treasures of their choice. And that is the the Crouching Tiger Hidden Bees expansion. The final expansion is the Treasure Trove deck. Basically just more action cards, more souvenir cards. It also comes with these injury cards though. Instead of having to give treasures to other player or lose treasures, you can take one of these cards instead. Now these are permanent things in the game that will be detrimental to your game. It will hurt you, like Messer. Oh, that has no effect. That one doesn't hurt you at all. That's a good one. Your moves are -2 here. Or you must stop when exiting a cave. So certain things, it makes you kind of move slower or gives you disabilities in the game, but it's better than maybe losing one of those treasures. Now you can have as many of these as you want. However, they are permanent in the game until the end. So you may not want to take them, but you may want to keep those treasures. And that is all the expansions to Fireball Island. Final thoughts, what do I think about the game? Well, just like every reviewer, I loved Fireball Island as a kid as well, so automatically I was in on this game. I got all the expansions because I had to. It's so much fun. So first off, let's talk about the base game. It is different than, of course, the old school game. The old school game was draw a card, move that number of spaces. There wasn't as many actions you can do. Now, the original game is fun for kids. This game is fun for the whole family as well, because it also gives you additional actions you can do. Those souvenir cards are neat as well. Launching embers, there are specific rules. There's no flicking. You can only push the ember over. I like that as well. And of course, I like when you get knocked over, you don't lose a turn like you did in the original game. Basically, you just, lose one of your treasures, and then you can get up and move again. There are so many things to do on the island that your mind's going everywhere. Like, oh, do I get the Volcor's, heart? Or if you do that, it automatically adds an ember to that ember track. By the way, I forgot to mention that. But it's like, do I grab the heart of Volcor? Do I go and take some pictures? Because pictures are going to be nice. They're guaranteed wins. You don't have to give up pictures. You have to give up a treasure, but you don't have to give up a picture. So pictures are nice. Plus, you can also have that helicopter land. And so whenever you think you got enough treasures, make a dash for the helicopter to try to end the game before anyone else can get treasure. If you're playing with some of the expansions, getting certain treasures above everyone or having a mission is really neat too. But just the base game alone, let me just talk about that. I'll get to the expansions in a minute. The base game alone is well worth it. It looks beautiful. It's a really nice game. In fact, the only thing bad I will say about all of the games is this is some pretty flimsy cardboard, folks. I mean, it is one of the cheapest boxes I have ever seen for a game. That is it. That's my only complaint. Other than that, the game is a lot of fun, and I do love it, and it is for all ages. Now, let's talk about some of the expansions here. That first one I talked about, the Wreck of the Crimson Cutlass. This is a neat idea. I like how you go on there. There's not much to it, but of course, taking a picture there would give you 10 points. And those jewels, which are 2 victory points each, that's not too much, but you also can cash them in for additional actions, get double the actions. That's not bad. And they need to put a lot of powerful stuff here, because really, when you combine this to the main game, who wants to go out here? There's not much else to grab here. This can give you some extra power in the game, and maybe you'll want to visit it real quick and get back to collecting treasures and taking photographs again. But it is good that they are powerful things you can find on this island, because if it was just regular stuff, there's no purpose to go here. Do you need this? No. You can have fun with the base game. I don't think you need the expansion at all. I do like it. I like how cannonballs are flying too. There's more dangers. A skull shooting cannonballs out of his mouth. Oh, it's a cannonball. I thought it was a fireball. Anyway, but there's a lot of neat things, of course, going on here. But would you visit it that much? I don't know. In our game, we've had 1 or 2 people go over there maybe early in the game to get some of those jewels so they can get some double actions, which would come in handy. But you're basically there and gone. I don't see anyone just hanging out there. There's not enough points there to just rack up as much, and maybe there should be more stuff on that island. I do like, if people remember this, a long time ago they made a video trying to propose for Milton Bradley to bring this game back, and they proposed having extended islands on the main island. There's little indentions in the board, and you would add a island to the side of it, building on the island, making it bigger, all these little side trips they have to take on. And I like that idea, but I'm also happy that Restoration Games did not do that. Their idea of making you go through the cave is brilliant, because you don't have to have this big ever-growing island through all the expansions. And I hope they put out more of these. I really do hope they put out more Fireball Island expansions. But on top of that island, going through and accessing those islands via the caves are really neat. In fact, maybe they should do something later on where it's a bonus when you visit each island, that you get a bonus card, and that will force players, it's kind of like set collection, because they'd be big points at the end if you could visit each island while you were there, and maybe that would get more interactions for people on the island. But other than that, though, it's a great one. Now, let me talk about these other 2 tinier expansions here. The Last Adventure. Yeah, this is great. 5th extra player. You get the t-shirt t-shirts, which give you special abilities, which I think is really neat. We always play with this. I always like having a 5th player, and I like the adventure as well that he's in this. The snakes are really good. The snake idol is fun, but it's very rare that you're going to get back with the, get back to the helicopter with that snake idol. Usually the snake idol is going to be waiting there in the tray. So it's another reason for you to go to the helicopter so you can grab that snake idol. But capturing it and bringing it home on your own without you losing it, the chances of that are 0. The snakes are okay. Like I said, that little indention on the main board is really no good. That marble keeps falling over and over again. Other than that, though, snakes are okay. They do little damage to you, meaning you basically just taking some random card. No card is really that bad. It may not be the ideal card you wanted to take, but it's not that bad. So it's not too bad to suffer a snake bite. And the Boulder. The Boulder looks awesome. It's awesome. Of course, I like how it's limited to caves because it's super powerful. If you were to knock someone over the Boulder, you get 2 of their treasures, but you have to do it from a cave entrance, which there's a lot of spots where people could be safe from getting rolled over by a cave. Like if you're on the Crimson Cutlass on that ship, there's no way no one's hitting you with a boulder. So there are ways to avoid the boulder too. So I do like this one. Is this one necessary for your game? No, none of these expansions are. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Bees. Oh man, there is so much to love about this game. First off, pouring those bees in. There is nothing more satisfying in any of the expansions than pouring that cup of bees into Volkar's head and watching chaos ensue on the game. I do like how bee stings give you slow movement for your next turn. I like that. Grabbing honeypots is also a good strategy too because they're worth 6 points each, but you do have to suffer a bee sting, so it'll keep slowing you down every time you grab one. I like that they have special abilities like secret missions on the island because it does really, this changes the way you play the game based on that secret mission that you have because you want to get those extra points. So it puts that little bug in you, you're like, I really need to go out and collect as many gold treasures as I can because if I didn't have the most, I'll get an additional 10 points. And then finally, the other one that I just love, but we're not very good on it, was the tiger. I love that idea. I love they use the design from Ants in the Pants and that tiger flipping it on there. And I would suggest the first time you play with this expansion, give everyone a second shot because they're going to either not shoot very high or shoot way over the board. That tiger will fly over the island. Can you imagine being an adventurer on the island and then seeing a tiger flip over head over heels and just, from one end to the next, one peninsula to the next? That's kind of a funny thing, but yeah, so this tiger, he's kind of hard to get used to after a while, but pretty soon, man, if you can nail one, we haven't nailed one in our game yet, but ooh, if we can nail an adventure with this and get 3 treasure, just nailing him with the tiger would be awesome, because it is definitely skill. There's a lot of skill involved with this one, so fun one too. And then finally, you have the treasure trove. I don't know if this is coming out for retail. I'd imagine it is, since it had its own little box, and this is just extra cards. I do like the injury cards that if you do not, after all these expansions, if you do not want to lose a treasure because losing 1 treasure would hurt your set collection, then that's okay. You can take that injury card. Might be good, would probably be bad for you. Not as bad as, like one of them is like, you cannot steal the Heart of Volkar. That's fine. I didn't want to steal it anyway. So there could be a chance you get a card like that. But of course, if you get cards that, hinder your movement or hinder how you work, maybe toward the end of the game, you don't care, and people will start, I thought, who would want to take these? And then we all started taking them because we didn't want to lose our treasure at the end. So I thought that was a little smart thing. And of course, the extra cards that come with it are fun too. What do I think about the game? Oh, by the way, the game came with these little dividers that kind of, the main board game, that kind of cover up the little hole in beneath when you're layering the trays. Unnecessary, but really cool that they did that. So that's another little thing I like about it. I love this game. I think this game is great. I'm super happy I have it. It's super fun to play. Adults can play it. Kids can play it. Whole families can play it. It is good for everyone. So Fireball Island, 30 years later, still a great game. All right, gamers, that's all the time I have for now. Until next time, flame Fireball on.